everybody. Welcome into Season 2 of the Talk to Walk podcast. My name is Tyler Baker. I'm your host. We're in a different location. It looks a little different if you're watching the video. If you're listening, it's still the same. You still get to hear my voice. And we're excited for this season because it's going to be a little bit different. Our conversations are going to be a little more personable. They're going to be a little bit more of an in-depth type of conversation with different people from different walks of life, because you know, if you're a listener here and you're a subscriber, that we have conversations to help you walk better in your life, both as a believer and as a person. And so today with me, we have some very special people, some friends of ours from our church that I've known for years, Brad and Cristy Lenderman, all the way from El Progresso, Honduras. Guys, welcome back to the States.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here and get some Chick-fil-A.
Amen. Amen.
Weather.
Oh my
gosh. Cold weather.
Yeah, I can imagine. So they are missionaries down in Honduras. They've been there now how long?
A little over 8 years.
8 years. Man, time flies. Feels like I was just there, and that was 4 years ago. It's crazy. And what they do in Honduras is amazing. They have a complete, full operational mission down there that they serve the communities surrounding them in El Progreso and different areas. And God's just doing some really cool things. And so today, I just kind of want to pick your brains a little bit. I want to talk about what it looks like to be mission-minded, to be missional in your life. But before we get to that type, tell us about yourself. What's your story? How did you get to Honduras? How did all of this come to be? Because you're from the area, correct?
Yeah, we're from here in East Clinton. We're Clintonians.
So you're East Tennesseans.
East Tennesseans.
Yeah, so you're locals, but yet you live thousands of miles away.
Right.
So what's the story? Tell us.
Well, first, when we're telling the story, we always say there's nothing special about us. You know, we're just a couple who were chasing the dream here and realized there's bigger things in the world than what we thought we were supposed to be into. And so I don't know where you want me to start at, but I mean, you know.
Where were you born?
So I was
we'll
born
there.
We were both born here in East Tennessee. I was born in Cleveland. My dad's job bounced us around a little bit until we landed back here. My parents are originally from Oak Ridge, and so we landed back here when I was in middle school or elementary school, and then I grew up and went to Oak Ridge High School, and Christy's from here.
Yep, I was raised here in Clinton. Went to Clinton High School, graduated there. All my family's still here in Clinton, so. Yeah, this is home.
I spent 20 years in law enforcement, 10 years in Anderson County here in Clinton, and 10 years on the SRT or SWAT team on Y-12. And then Cristy was at Comcast.
For 17 years.
For forever.
Wow, long term.
Yeah.
So if you hate Comcast, don't hate on her, you know. Does anybody ever say, I love Comcast? No, nobody says that, right?
No one around here says that.
No.
So, but she was there pre-hate, you know, so.
I don't know about that, but maybe. But yeah, so I was there, and then we started just kind of dabbling in boat business. We weren't sure that was what we were going to do, like full-time, but.
Buying and selling some boats and fixing them up, and then that kind of one boat we got 2 boats, and then we had 4 boats, and we're like, hey, we need a place to sell these.
Yeah, it was too many for our front yard.
Yeah. So Sunny Marine opened in 2007 in South Clinton, and we kept that dealership for about 7 years until God said, hey, it's time for you to move into full-time ministry. So we thought we were in the boat business to make lots of money, you know, and we were making good money. But God showed us that you're in the boat business because it gives you freedom to go to Haiti and when you need to go to Haiti, or to go to Nicaragua, or wherever I need you to go to. Sometimes our local church, our home church, would call and say, hey, can you run to Haiti next week? And in the normal job, you can't do that. And so, but because we had some freedom, then we were able to do that. So I'd yell over in Christy's office and say, hey, can I run to Haiti next week? And she'd say, yeah, sure. She probably says, yes, thank the Lord. You know, but so that's kind of what we learned from being in the boat business, is we were there to learn things. And a lot of the learning that we did helps us on the mission field today. Not that we sell boats on the mission field, even though there's some crazy flooding going on around. I wish I had a boat there, but we learned a lot about lots of different things through my time in law enforcement, through our own a dealership and building it from the ground up. You know, we started out with one boat and built it to a successful dealership. So that kind of taught us how to build a ministry the same way. And this time we're doing it with God's help. So, you know, and for Him. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of moving and
that's why I
grooving
thought,
in your
man,
life.
where am I going to tell you? Where do I start the story at? So there's some really cool things that happen, on that journey, and God spoke to us clearly. No questions about where we were supposed to be in full-time ministry. It was, like the voice of God, we heard it, and there was no question that's what we're supposed to be doing. So.
When we look back at it now, there were so many things and pieces of parts that happened that we were kind of like scratching our head, like, why is this happening? Why are we going through this? And, like where we kind of thought we were going in one direction. And because we kind of had that tug, and we knew we were going to do something with international missions. We knew that. We just didn't know where it was going to be or what that was going to look like. And honestly, never had even thought of Honduras at that point. We were doing a lot of work in Lonsdale.
Wasn't even sure where it was. Maybe we did, but
We were doing a lot of work in Lonsdale with our local church, and there was a lot of Guatemalan families there that we were working kind of closely with. And so we kept thinking, okay, maybe this is God is preparing us for Guatemala. Maybe that's where we're going. We were just our human nature, just trying to kind of figure it out, before God would tell us. Like we were trying to figure out kind of on our own, I guess. And
contemplated buying a house in a Guatemalan community in Knoxville. There's an area of Lonsdale that's about 83% Guatemalan, and we contemplated selling our house, buying a house in that community so we could do small groups in our house and things like that. And we were all in. We just knew that something international, but international doesn't always have to be across the border. You can do international ministry right here in town.
Yeah.
And so. We were kind of just like, okay, where do we go from here?
And I think that was kind of, being honest, okay, we've said, yes, God, we'll go wherever you want us to go. But then our own human nature is like, okay, I want to know now. Like, I've got to have the plan. Where are we going? How long is this going to take? And so a lot of things that kind of happened during that time, and it felt like so long. It really wasn't, but it felt like forever. Once we said, yes, we'll go, it just felt like it was so long. And, questioning, okay, God, we told you we'd go. Like, why is this taking so long? And why is this not working out? And why, why don't we know where and things? And it just was, now looking back, we see that it was just, there were so many pieces that he was putting in place, but it just didn't feel like that at the time. And, even just down to how we sold the business, to a complete stranger, that,
that's a crazy
we
story.
never put the business like for sale on the market. We knew that's what we were going to need to do, and we were trying to prepare for that and get everything kind of, ready to do that and have somebody tell us what it's worth and all the things. And somebody comes in off the street.
Wow.
Hey, would you be interested in selling the business? And we're like, wait,
Man.
so in little things like that, just, I even think about like us having the dealership and working together closely, riding to work together every morning and being together all day long at work. And we've now, after talking to many other missionaries and things, that is a huge thing for a lot of couples that go in the mission field. They're not used to being with their spouse from sun up to sundown, like working together. You have that time during the day where you're with your work friends and then you come back in the afternoon or the evening and you're with your wife or your husband. And so, we've just heard other couples say, that was so hard for us, like to be with each other from the whole day, and just like, we realized, we didn't have that much to talk about, or we didn't always agree on things, or, and so it's just hard for their marriages. And
that sounds crazy, but it's real.
Yeah. Because I think when you're on the mission field, so many things are heightened. Like, so many things, your emotions and feelings are just kind of tested. But, so that was, I think that was a way there. He was preparing us even then, just riding to work together every day and spending the whole day to work doing the same things.
It's amazing how many people said, I could never work with my husband every day. And we're like, well, we've been doing it for 7 years and now we do it every day. And so but it did prepare us, so it wasn't hard to prepare me. But for her, it was tough, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, and it's funny, I'm sitting there listening to the story, and I've personally heard the story before because I've been working with you guys for a while, but, sitting there thinking about the listeners out there that, it's funny how God always has a perfect plan. And with missions, I've found that when God is calling somebody somewhere, there always comes with two things, really. It comes with awareness of him and his presence, that you have to have situational things like you guys working together closely, because if you weren't as intimate together closely in a relationship, you wouldn't have been able to hear the Spirit the same. But also at the same time, it comes with sacrifice, that you all willingly were like, this is what God's calling us to. We're on board. And then God provides through the end of that to get you there. So it's incredible. I love when you all tell your story, because it's so unique.
Yeah.
And it's a God story. And so with that, kind of giving the listeners the background, let's talk about ministry a little bit. Let's talk about missions. So for you all, in your conversation, in your story, you said that you had began working with Guatemalans here in the local area, and you kind of developed a passion for that, had been going to Haiti and been working in Nicaragua and different areas. When was it that you knew God was calling you to Honduras specifically?
So, like I said, we've been in lots of places. We've been in Haiti and Mexico and Nicaragua and Guatemala and other places, our family in different times. And I was, we were on the leadership team at our church, and I was leading trips, and I'd go to Haiti and look for new partners, and I'd spend a week down there, and we're doing a lot of things. And so they said, hey, will you lead a team to Honduras in the summer? And I'm sure, I'll go to Honduras, wherever. And so just a normal trip. I mean, I've led trips other places, and you do what you do as a leader, and you do what you do personally on your spiritual journey during that time. And but when I got to Honduras day 2, I called home and said, hey, there's something different going on here. This is a place that I can see us doing something here. So pray about that. And just knew that I had a different feeling, something was different. The Spirit was working on me differently here than it was all the times I've been in Haiti or other places. And so I came back home and said, I think we need to go back. I think we need to go see what this looks like. In the meantime, our local church that we were in had offered me a full-time position there on staff. And so they were prepping everything. And the whole part of our story is we said yes to ministry and didn't know what it was. God, we'll go into full-time ministry. Our church offered us a full-time job. And then we said yes to that. And then we like to say God pulled the bait and switch. Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to send you to this job with the Cristy office doing missions to, oh, no, you're going to Honduras where it's 147 degrees. It's not really that hot. But
it is hot, though.
It's warm.
It is very warm.
We don't wear sweaters. All right. So you leave your sweater at home. But anyway, it's so we go back a few months later. We took our daughter down, and we're just serving with another ministry doing a medical trip. None of us were medical. My daughter's a doctor now, but none of us were medical. And we were working in a pharmacy or the pharmacy for a medical team just to get on the ground and see what it's like, just to look around, get a feel for the place, let them pray about it also. And we never as a family had a conversation like, okay, this is a spot. We just knew, We came back from that and started making the plan. Hey, praying about it. God, if this is where you want us to go, we need you to tell us big. I need a billboard. I prayed that prayer. I need you to give me a billboard. I'm not a sign. Yeah. I'm not a fleece throw out guy. God, if you'll do this, I'll know. God, this is big. If you want me to, you bless this dealership. If you want me rid of the dealership, I need to know for sure. Yeah. And so that's kind of how that happened. And we came back and kind of announced to, we said we sold our dealership. We gave it away for what a little bit of a loan was on it, and just walked away from it. And but the guy, that's a whole nother story. We'll go into that. But it's we just started the process. Yeah. and knew that we didn't have help. And so part of our ministry now is we want help. We don't want people to go on the mission field like we went on the mission field. It's been our story's been beautiful. But there was a lot of struggles early on that we want to make sure we help people. If you feel like going on the mission field and you think you'd like to dip your toe in at first to see what it's like, let us know. Let us help you through some things, because it's not always easy. And God worked it all out for us, but the struggles were real, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, you prayed for a billboard.
Yeah.
I think we all do that, even if, even as a non-believer, it's like, okay, I need a sign in life. Mm-hmm. And I need just this flashing light to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I've often found that God never gives a flashing light because it's always the small little voice or the whisper or the individual coming off the street to buy your business.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So, but you said that, and you said this is a big deal. And then you talk about the struggle. That's where the sacrifice comes in. And that's kind of where I want to lead into. For you all, let's fast forward. You're about to move to Honduras. The plan's in place. You're going. I can only imagine how difficult that is as parents because you have a daughter. As a mom that's getting ready to uproot everything that you've known being from here, you being from here, and now raising your daughter in East Tennessee. What was the fear like?
I think even before the actual getting there, like the maybe the month or so before leaving, getting rid of everything at our house. And, we joke about it and we talk about Shelby would come home from school and the dining room table's sold, and there's this is gone, the couch is gone. And, and she's like, please don't sell my bed. It was a joke, but not really, know. And then I can remember sitting in the floor in our bedroom going through all the sentimental things and crying. I mean, I just had a breakdown and I told him how do you decide? We have 6 suitcases. And how do you decide what you keep? How do you decide what goes with you, what stays here? We really didn't know anybody. We knew 2 people, but we only knew them just kind of from spending a week with them on a mission trip that lived there. So it wasn't like somebody I could call and say, hey, should I bring, do I need to bring my towels or do I buy towels there? Do I need to bring, I know that's silly things that you're thinking about, but not really. You're uprooting your family, and as a mother and as a wife and somebody who takes care of the home, you want to know what things do I want to have there that make it feel like our home. Yeah. What of my daughters, I know that she's going to go with us and spend the summer, but she's coming back and going to go to college, but this is going to be her home, the only home she's going to have. So I want it to feel like her home when she does come back, And just so what do you do? And then you're trying to sell those things, and you know how it is when you're selling something, people always want the best price. And we're saying, but what we make off of what we sell is what we're going to buy new with down there. So,
right.
How do you sell everything for dirt cheap, which, we did. We sold a lot of things, but it's crazy, just the different stories of the people that came and bought things, from our house when we were selling. And I just ran into a lady yesterday that said, hey, I still have that little table that that I bought from you, and I want you to know every time I walk by it, I think of you guys, I pray for you guys, and so just different things. But there was a lot of that stuff that nobody had we weren't prepared for that. I was prepared to go down there and we're not going to know the language, and what if we don't like the food and those kind of things. But thinking about getting rid of pictures that have been on your wall or Christmas decorations or, just birthday gifts that somebody gave you or your favorite, dish that you cook in. All these things, you're trying to prepare for that. But
Christmas stockings that, we're big Christmas people, but we don't have a house now to have Christmas here because we're going to do Christmas in the States, but we don't have a house here, so I'm going to do Christmas at your house.
Come on.
So, but I'm going to put my stockings up at your house. Yeah. It's just things like that you don't really think about till it's that time. You're like, oh, what are we going to do now? So no Christmas tree, and we're Christmas nuts, so things like that you run into, you're like, okay, this is hard.
But then I think too, there was a lot of fear for me, obviously more than him, fear of just the dangers and the things of being there. And I've always, he has always been, our protector. Like you said, he's been in law enforcement for all these years, and so he knows the ins and the outs and the people to contact for this. And but we're in a third world country where we don't even speak the language. We can't even call the police if we wanted to. So those things, are running through my head, and I'm sure for him too. But he's got to be that protector, so he's holding that like he's not afraid. But I know there was those fears of taking your family somewhere far away. And we even talked, years before, he had done a training here in Anderson County. He went to a training when he was on the sheriff's department for a gang prevention thing. And I remember thinking that was the dumbest thing, in Anderson County, why would you need to have training for gangs, know? But looking back now, we're right, in a town that's very prominent. So how good that training has come in, for him. But who would have thought, all those years ago?
Right. And with that, I love how you jumped right from, with the fear of and the sacrifice, because that's kind of the direction we're headed is, when you're giving things away, I mean, we're selfish people. Obviously, the American dream is the white picket fence, the beautiful house, the dog, the garage, all the stuff. In East Tennessee, it's Tennessee season football tickets. You know, that's what everybody wants here. And for me to sit here while you're saying this, to think, okay, could I give away everything that I own to go somewhere? I could honestly say no right now, because that's not where God's called me, but also I'm selfish. So I can only imagine how difficult that was for you all, and bless your heart for the Christmas, man. I'm a huge Christmas fan too, so I get that. But even within that though, you know, as parents, as the mother of the home, you know, the keeper of the house, the protector, you all are literally picking up your life and moving from everything you've ever known to somewhere that you know, like you said, 2 people from a 1 week or 2 week mission trip you were on. You have no relationship. It's a blind draw. Like, you're flying in blind. What was that like in the moments of, okay, tomorrow we go, we're walking through the airport, we're on our way? Walk me through that. Like, what was that like before you even get there?
It's really hard. I mean, I guess I haven't thought about it a lot. I mean, you try not to. You don't think about those things. But, I mean, I was just sitting here thinking about that day, and Brad's grandmother was there with us, and she's not there now. She was very sick when we left, and we knew walking away from her that may be the last time that we see her. Brad's mom was there. She's not there now. You know, it's just been a lot of those things, and things that happened, and we weren't here when that happened either. And so there's some of that feelings of sometimes of guilt, but also trying to be strong for them and knowing they were all scared. I mean, I can't imagine. We were taking Shelby with us and knowing that we were going to bring her back to go to school, but that she was going to be close enough that family could get to her and those kind of things. But
now, how old was she at this time?
She was just graduated.
Okay,
2 weeks
so
after she graduated high school. So
okay.
The plan was she was going to stay with us all summer, and then we would bring her back to get her. She was going to Birmingham to Samford to college, but I think about, you know, my mom and his mom and grandmother watching us walk down there, and we weren't going to be close enough that somebody could help us if they needed. So as their children, how they must have felt. And I can remember us trying to be strong and you know, assuring them that everything's going to be okay. And there's been lots of things and lots of stories that we haven't shared with them, you know, on purpose. But it did feel like, I mean, we had several other friends, really close friends, that all met there that morning at the airport with us to pray with us and to kind of send us off. But that loneliness that it felt just the minute we walked past that line where everybody can be, you know, just that's not going on the flight, that line, it just seemed like the largest step. Like, I mean, there was such a divide between those two, you know, just that little space of, this is everything that was secure. This was everything that was for sure. And this is everything we have no idea what's about to happen.
Everything we know versus everything we don't know.
We had no idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, I know that feeling, and we've lived it, but it's not something you really think about a lot. I mean, like I said, until you ask that question, because once we got there, and not even really the first year was the hard. I mean, it was so hard. But now it's like you've almost forgot about that, you know, like because of all the things that are happening and all the good and all the amazing things that we get to see and get to be part of, you kind of have forgotten about that. But again, that's one of those things that if we want to be able to help that next person that's going to go through that, because we weren't prepared for that, and we didn't have, you know, we had a support system here, but they didn't understand both sides of it. You know, we had our family and our friends here that understood and that loved us, and they cared for us. But so we had that support, but I'm just saying, like, for us to be able to help that other person that's wanting to do that understands both sides of it, because our family did not understand what we were feeling on the other side of that line, or the nights that we were sitting there in Honduras and we're just so lonely, you know, that we just wanted to hear somebody familiar's voice, or, you know, that wanted to go to a church where we can understand what they were saying, or, you know, the songs that were being sung, or, you know, those kind of things. they couldn't understand that, and so that's where we've said, hey, if we ever have the opportunity to help someone else that's going to do this, then we don't want them to feel these things if they don't have to. We've grown because of it, and I'm not mad or angry that we went through those things, but I'm just saying, it would have been nice to have known some of those things ahead of time. But what, God used that, and He obviously we're stronger and closer because of it, and our daughter and us, all of us, But it was hard. It was really hard.
I think everybody thinks they have the greatest relationship with their kids ever. Our relationship with Shelby was, we were the three amigos. We never wanted to be her best friend growing up. That we were parents, and she got in trouble, for things. But we were still the three best friends. And so after her summer there, we came back here to put her in school in Sanford, and Sanford was a godsend for us. It was a great place that we felt safe for her, comfortable. But we still were leaving her there. And so, we tried to tell her, oh, it's a 4-hour drive to Knoxville. It's a 4-hour flight to Honduras. It's the same. It wasn't the same. Yeah. She knew it wasn't the same.
Right.
So I can't tell you how many tears were shed, by me, by Cristy, by her during that first, not just the first year, years of separation. And, because she knew she was going on the mission field before we knew. When she was in 8th or 9th grade, she's like, I'm called to missions. I'm going to the mission field. We're like, oh, yeah, whatever. You're not going to the mission field, But lo and behold, we beat her there. So, but that for me was one of the hardest things we did was to leave her here. We left her in. This is a true story. We dropped her off in Birmingham. We left the next morning, and we didn't speak until we got to Chattanooga. For 2 hours, we rode in the car. My mind was going up 1,000 miles an hour.
And I had that big lump in my throat. I couldn't talk if I'd wanted to. It was... Finally,
Cristy says, you want to get something to eat?
Bless your heart.
Not really, but we'll stop. Thank you for speaking. So, but it was, that was the roughest part. Thank God they're there now with us. Shelby and Logan are there now.
Which is a godsend in itself.
It is. She finished Sanford, went on to UAB, got her doctorate, and then God made a way for, God created this crazy housing thing that happened, and they got to pay off lots of money because they sold their house that they just had for 2 years. And He worked all that out. Yeah. Crazy job stuff that happened to her, and so it's just nuts. God just did it all. When you pray for things and then they happen, it's not coincidence. Yep. And so God helped them, make a way for them to pay off all their debt so we can get my daughter back together. We've been away from her for 8 years, and the housing explosion happened, and they made a bunch of money on selling a house, and then her jobs. Anyway, it's just God. It's just God.
It's amazing.
It is.
And all that comes from a small decision to say yes to the call that God's put on your life and to sacrifice. Because I think a lot of people have a misconception in the church of what missions is. I believe that, even people that are not in the church that do things and help people, there's always in their mind some type of reward at the end of the day. That I helped somebody, I did this, I gave my time, I gave my resources, but people don't see the struggle of the people that are in it for the life. Because, a typical mission trip in a church is 7 to 10 days. 10 is max, really, because it's about all you can handle of each other without wanting to kill each other. And you guys need a break. But, you all are living it and breathing it. You're there, boots on the ground. That's your life. And I think a lot of people forget that. And so if I can just say anything, thank you for being an example of what it looks like to be obedient and to truly sacrifice, because like I said earlier, I know I could not give up my life the way I'm going right now willingly unless the Lord told me to. I couldn't do it. And I'm sitting with 2 people that have done that, and it's amazing. And so through that, I'm imagining you all walking through the airport. I can imagine, the thing, like I'm not even a parent, and I can't fathom the fear, but I can imagine the thoughts of what are we going to eat? The language, the church thing, like you said. So when you guys finally get to Honduras, you're there, you've been there now. Looking back on the first few years of the struggle, did the thought ever creep in your mind the sacrifice wasn't worth it?
Well, I don't think I ever felt like it wasn't worth it. I do sometimes think I kind of question, like, God, did we understand correctly? Like, this doesn't seem like how you were going to have this happen. But I don't think I ever felt like that it wasn't worth it.
No, and I think knowing, understanding the value of changed lives. And if a life change is worth more than what I had before. We had a good life before. I mean, we don't brag about it. We had a good life, But giving all that up to see lives changed, see our team the way we have an incredible team who are working like crazy today in Honduras, and to see their life so much different than it was when we got there. They weren't bad people at all. We wouldn't hire bad people, right?
Right.
But to see them on fire for Jesus and doing ministry work, not just checking a box Sunday, even checking the box I went to a small group. They're in ministry. And to see their lives changed. And then lives of people that come to some of our, like the La Mesa services or our weekly dinners, or kids that are coming to Connections getting saved. If you can, we don't know the value of that, but we think we know the value of that. But we don't really know, right? I mean, we think we know the value of a life going to spend eternity with Jesus, but we don't really know what it's like to spend eternity without Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that is really heavy when you start thinking through that. What's that really like? So is the sacrifice worth it? For sure. Other days we thought, man, I'm packing it in. I'm done. I'm through with this. And that thought lasted 27 seconds until God said, wait a second, what are you doing? And they're hard days, man. They're hard days.
Heavy days. Like just with the situations that he's definitely take charge of this problem, get a solution, get it figured out, let's do it. And I'm very much, let me just hug on you and let me just, help you, love you through this. And there's some days that you feel like, there's not enough love to give to this. I mean, I can't give them enough. No matter how much I tell them they're loved, they don't know how to receive it. They don't know how to feel it. They've had so much going on, or that the situation is so big that there isn't really a plan. I mean, we can do short-term things, but there's not long-term, so there's just days that you walk away like feeling so helpless, and I know that happens everywhere. I'm not saying that's unique to Honduras, but it just seems like some days it's every day, in 2 and 3 situations a day. You go in with the plan of what's going to happen today, what we're going to get done, what we're going to get accomplished. And the first person that you encounter, you have this situation, and then the rest of the day is working trying to figure that out, or trying to, just come up, with a way to help. And you just feel depleted some days. You feel like there's just like, I don't know how to fix this problem. And if I feel this way, I can only imagine how they feel, like it's not my problem. And I feel so just heavy with it. But the good days outweigh that so much. And like you said, watching our team, and I can't even really put into words how much they mean to us, and how that it was each one of them. It's such a God thing that how they're just, each one have different pieces and parts to our ministry, that there's no way we could do the things that we're doing without them. And they love it. I mean, you can see it on their face, and you can see it in everything they do, how much they love what they're doing. I don't even want to say their job, because they don't even view it as like a job. I mean, it's... and
they're all professionals who could be doing some other...
Yes.
Making much more money in that country doing something else besides what we're doing. And so that's how you know that they love ministry.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's really cool.
And all of that, I believe, comes from the example of sacrifice. I keep coming back to that, because that's when I think of missions and I think of living missionally, hearing your conversation and your story, that's what it is. It's getting that feeling, whether you're spiritual or not, of I need to do something to help somebody. And especially to us believers, we know it's the Holy Spirit speaking to us, but those that don't listen may not be a believer. And, help anybody that you can. That's kind of the idea. But when you give up something for someone else's benefit, everything changes. But not only that, but the people that are watching change with it. And I believe that's why you've seen success with your team, is because, I've had conversations with Brad and Cristy, and Hondurans are not exactly the most open people when you first meet them.
Right.
Americans will talk your head off in 5 seconds. It takes time to build relationships, and then they have to be willing to build one back. It's a 2-lane road. And I remember you saying something on our mission trip down there that one year, that this is not a walk up and tell someone about Jesus. This is show up and hug them, and then we get to do that a couple months later.
Right.
It's not this immediate thing. It's
right.
over time of giving and doing, and it's incredible to see how that comes to fruit. Yeah. And how that comes to fruition in life through life change.
Because it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships. So
yeah, and
everything we do.
And being missional, I believe you can't be effective until you're affected. I really believe that.
Yeah.
That if you want to be effective in anything missional, in your job, in your calling in life, in ministry, in your dreams of opening a business, you can't be effective until you've seen someone do that and it affects you. And I believe that's, a lot of missions, is that we overlook the fact that, like I said, you all are boots on the ground the 24/7. We get to come in and help once or twice a year for 7 days. But there's so much more work happening. And so with that, you've shared your story of the struggle. I want to pivot for a second and talk about the good. Getting there, giving everything up, sacrificing the emotions, all of that's part of it. But now looking at 7-8 years of ministry, what has been the biggest thing that proved that you all are where you're supposed to be? And I'm not saying one single thing, because I know that's hard to do. But what's the thing that really said, this is it?
I'm sure our DNA is different, so our answers are different. But I'll start and say our team gets it.
Yeah.
And they understand relational discipleship now, and how we do ministry is different than going in and doing, evangelism crusades or whatever. And we need to do a whole nother podcast on relational missional ministry, So, but for me, to see a team that gets it and loves to do it. So we shifted how we do ministry from the way we went and from the way most mission groups do ministry, from I'm the guy on the ground to I'm behind the local on the ground who's doing the ministry. So I need to be behind my people, pushing them, discipling them, empowering them to do ministry. So if something happens and I leave, that ministry continues forever. And when we change the way we do ministry to being, if nobody ever sees me again, then that's great. If I can push Hondurans to the front and let them do ministry. And when we saw that, it was like, okay, this thing's working now.
Yeah.
They had La Mesa dinner last night and served 100 people from the streets during a flood, and had an awesome time. I'm watching it on the security cameras on my phone because they're so busy doing ministry that they can't. They could have, but they didn't call us because they were doing ministry. Yeah. So I'm on the security cameras watching them, thinking, man, this is so good. So for me, that's how we know that this thing's working.
Yeah.
And we push them to the front and empower them, push them a little bit, and give them what they need to do ministry.
Yeah.
That's still your answer?
No, obviously I agree with a lot of that, but I think too, watching all the students that we're working with and how to see them now after all these years, they're reproducing the ministry the way we've seen it and the way we kind of had envisioned. And he was talking about the La Mesa dinner that we have, and we now have some of our older boys in our student program that come every time we have La Mesa, and they want to be on the serving team. Whereas when we first started, they were the ones in the line coming to get the meal and wanting to just hang out, and now they're coming early. They're going out inviting people to come in for the meal. They're offering to help people carry things back home to their house houses after the meal, or they're sitting at the table wanting to pray. We had the last time we were there, one of the boys come up to us and he's like, "Hey, this man is asking these questions, and I need to pray with him, and I'm not sure exactly how to pray or what to pray." And but he was willing to do it. He's a 17-year-old boy that 4 years ago was a street kid, not going to school, didn't have any plans of what tomorrow even looked like for him. And now he is going to graduate high school in a month, and already at a private school, already looking at universities to go to, and he has a plan. He wants to come back. He said, "I want to get a degree in psychology because I want to be able to come back and help these other kids and kids like me and work here in this program with you all."
And he knows Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's Christian.
That's when you're like, okay, it's working. And again, it's not what we did.
Right.
It's because of our team and of how much they soaked in what we were, not what we wanted, but what we felt like God was teaching us and showing us how to teach them, to show them, they had never seen ministry in a way. Everything was so much full of legalism. You're not thinking for yourself, just kind of, this is what the pastor has said, and this is the way it is, and I can't question, or I can't ask, try to learn more. I just go to church on Sunday and try to be a good person. And so being able to help them and help them, watching them grow, like Brad says, but then now to be able to say to them, look what you all have done, not what Brad and I have done, but look what you all have been able to do and what God has done through you. How God has used you, and the things they've went through in their life, and how God is using that to help these boys and the students that we work with. And so it's pretty cool for me.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And I'm trying to even gather thoughts here because I know there's story after story. We could spend hours sitting here on this couch talking about what God has done, how He's used it. You guys have a coffee shop down there, fully functional ministry in the community. Hondurans are working there. You're in 2 villages, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then our downtown ministry, but it's 3 different areas plus the coffee shop, and
it's
coffee
busy.
shop's a full time.
It's busy, but
yes,
it's good.
Yes.
And it seems like it's still growing. That there's still people day in and day out connecting and growing and
having small groups in the coffee shop. And yes.
It's incredible to see that. And
pastors asking for training, and how can you? It's crazy.
It's amazing.
We need a part 2 to talk about all those things,
right? Yeah, and we may be able to do that later on. But kind of wanting to kind of land the plane here. Really, there's 2 things that I think our listeners would be interested to hear. You keep coming back, and you both keep saying that we want to help people be successful. To you, I know the struggle was real for you all. What would you say to that person that's listening that maybe is feeling a call from God to go on the mission field, or that has never been on a mission trip? What would you say to them to encourage them, to help them to understand why it's important?
Well, at first, it's easy to say, don't be afraid, and don't, because that, I was afraid. So there is going to be fear, and it's not going to be this perfectly planned out like vacation. Like you plan for a vacation, you have all the things in order. There's going to be lots of unknowns, but I think just the cool thing is knowing that behind each one of those unknowns, it was unknown to me, but it was not unknown to God, and He knew, and He had the plan, and I think it's just kind of getting ourselves out of the way, and like you said, you're making the commitment to go, and if He called you to go and you're making that commitment to go, then you have to also just have the faith that He's gonna be there and work it out. It may not look like you thought it would. It may not feel the way you thought it was going to feel at that moment. And like we said earlier, the whole first year for us, looking back, was just lots of painful, hurtful things, and lots of just, questioning what were we thinking, but yet I'm thankful for that time. It helped us to figure out, where we needed to be and what we needed to do, and to trust Him and to lean on Him more. we got married very young. We started a business at the worst time that you could do that. And so we were very much, these people that we're determined. We're going to make this work. We're going to make this happen. And, we will do this. We will do that. And I think it was just huge eye-opener for us that we can't make this happen. It's not about us. It's not about, and not that we wanted it for the glory or, like we want to make this happen, but, just like going down there, we're gonna figure it all out. We don't need to have anybody show us or help us. And, but we did. We did need that. And it was God. And it just showed us that even more we had to rely on Him. And we had to trust Him. And, yes, it's easy for people to say, oh, I trust God. I do have faith. And we had those things. We did trust. We did have faith. But we needed more than what we had when we first got there. And we got that. And we had to learn how to trust more and have more faith. And I'm not saying you have to go to another country to do that. I'm just saying that was a big lesson for us once we did get there. But for anybody that's, I feel like we've kind of talked, and it sounds like there was a lot of bad. There's so much more good, and I believe that that's just how He is. I mean, the bad wasn't Him. It wasn't anything of Him, but the good that He is and that He gives is so much more. And for us, He's been so good to us, and how could we not want others, to know that and to feel that and see that, and that's what we're there for. And so
we do it again.
Yeah.
If we knew we knew today, we do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, no question. I tell a lot of when people ask that same kind of question. So I told you we had a comfortable life here before. We were very blessed. I think the way we describe it now is I have less now than I've ever had before, monetarily, financially, whatever. We're missionaries, right? We're not supposed to make money, right? But I have more of the things you can't buy. Peace, joy, happiness, fulfillment. You can't buy those things. And so we have more of that every day than you could ever purchase. And we were chasing dollars before, and if you chase 5, you're chasing 50, and you're chasing 100, and then you want 500, and you want 5,000, and the chase never ends. Yeah. And so now we have more of the things you cannot purchase. How do you buy peace? You don't. How do you buy joy? You don't. How do you buy fulfillment? You don't. So I'd give it all up again to get what we have today, no question. There's a few things I might do different.
Right.
But for the most part, 100% we would do it all again, no questions asked.
And I think going back to your other question about somebody that's never been, it's just the thing you said also about how until you've been affected by it, you can't
be effective.
Yes. And that's so true. I mean, I can sit here and tell you about Honduras all day long, but until you've been there and seen it, felt it, as Brad says, smells it, you cannot. You can't understand what I'm telling you. You may get a good idea, but you cannot, because we'd say that a lot to teams. Like, we'll have team meetings before a team's going to come, and we tell them everything that we can to try to prepare them and ask questions and do all the things. And then after they've been there for a week, we say at the end, was this what you thought? And they're like, I had no idea. I had no clue. And not in a bad, but it, and we've even had one lady that the first day there, she just was kind of took off walking when we got in one of the communities, and she's just sobbing. And she said, I'm sorry, I did not know this was going to affect me. I mean, she hadn't even really met the first person. I mean, she just being there and seeing it and feeling it, And I think, we have family members that haven't been, and that's hard because you're trying to tell them everything you can, and they just can't. You can tell in their face. You can tell they just don't understand it, and it's not their fault. I mean, it's just they haven't been there to experience it. But once you do experience it, you'll never be the same. And I'm not saying like some people are like, well, I went and it, I don't feel this great. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to go there and automatically decide to move there or become a missionary. But I just feel like there's no way you can look at life the same and look at your daily life the same after you've been, and not just to Honduras, to any place, to go outside of your normal day-to-day routine and day-to-day bubble. Go, even if it's somewhere in the States that's, different, but you have to get out of what your normal is, like you said, to be affected by something. I was reading a book just recently about a man that, really successful company, and he takes the same route to work every day. And one day there was road construction, and he takes the turn to the other side of the road, and he ends up in this just horribly desperate community. And he's like, it's across the street from our building. And so now his company is doing all this work to give back to that little community, but it's in the same city. It's literally across the road from where he works. But we get so used to our normal routine, making the same turns, seeing the same sights, and almost kind of like just having blinders on to these things that are really within the same block of where you're going every day, So I definitely would encourage anybody to go, just go, get out of your normal routine, and you won't regret it. I mean, it may be overwhelming, it may be scary, it may be kind of uncomfortable, but you will never be able to, it's like he said, you can't buy the feelings and the things that are going to happen to you on that week. Yeah. You can't buy it.
It's amazing. And like I said, I love your all story and your heart for it. It just bleeds out. And so to kind of end the conversation, as much as I don't want to, I would talk for hours. Unfortunately, our listeners don't have the attention spans for that. And anymore in 2022, what would be your final thought to tell someone why sacrificing matters, why missions matter, why this is important, not just in the Christian world, but also in the human side of things?
There's a world outside of our bubble. Most of you're in 5 countries, but most of your listeners are here. There's a world outside of our bubble, and until you see it, you can't really understand what the other side of the world's going through, or how they do life in general. And I had a guy tell me on a trip one time. He said, "Once you see it, I can't unsee what I saw." Is what he told me. He said, "I can't unsee that, and it'll stay with me forever. And if I go back to the States and I don't do something about that, even if it's a little bit, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with them. You come to Honduras and you see the way people are living and the situation they're living in, and if you want to look at the religious side of they've only known legalism forever. There's nothing wrong with them. They just don't know. They've not been given the same opportunities we have. And once you see that, if you can see that and not do something about it, then there's a heart issue with you, and it's not a heart issue. So, and just to see what God does in other places and how He is working so crazily in other places. I mean, it's amazing to just to get out of your bubble and see what He does other places. That's what I would say.
And I think just. The world needs us. I mean, they need us. He gave us so much. And as a country, the United States, we are so blessed to just sit back and hold that and try to get more of that and try to, just not being satisfied. Like, what does that do to us? That just makes us miserable people inside, even, like never feeling that sense of completeness or wholeness. We're just wanting more and complaining about more, and I'm not talking bad about Americans. I'm myself. I mean, I was there. But I just think the world needs. They need us. They need us to show them love and to show, like I said, how good God has been to us. He's been so good to me, to my family. That. I mean, how could I not go and want others to know that and to feel that? And I think anybody that's a Christian would, and even like you said, even non-believers. I mean, he's been good to them. I mean, they're very blessed, and so why wouldn't you want others to know that and to feel loved and seen? Because I think that's it. We all want to be seen. We all want to be known, and. So, I don't know. I just think that how can we hold that to ourselves?
That's good. I love that. And, and I believe that's what you all do. And I love being able to be a part of it in a small way that we are at our church, but also, having you guys here on this, it's reaching more people and engaging with others. So Brad, Cristy, seriously, thank you all for the conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I could do this for hours. But to our listeners, if you want to follow along with what they're doing down in Honduras, in our description to this episode, there will be a link to their website. I believe it's hopethroughhim.org.
Hopethroughhim.org, and then the updates happen on Facebook. I know we're old, so we Facebook, but we do have young people who are on our staff who they update Instagram also. Yes. So
Yeah, and we'll put all those profiles on there, all the handles, so you guys can keep up. But thank you all for joining us for the first episode of season 2 for Talk to Walk. We're excited that we're back, and we cannot wait to see you all next week for our next episode. Have a great week, and we'll catch you all next Thursday.